What if you had instant analytics on your PDP images and a faster way to create content that performs better? That's what we're diving into in today's episode, how top brands and retailers are using analytics and automation to stay ahead across retail media and the digital shelf. It's Rapid helps teams scale smarter. They analyze image performance, they help you create optimized assets for retail media networks and the digital shelf, and they integrate directly with PIM and DAM systems for seamless execution. Brands like Pepsi, Mondelez, and Instacart use its Rapid to go beyond basic tools to uncover gaps in PDP and retail media performance by analyzing the images themselves, not just the count. Streamline banner creation across hundreds of formats for Amazon Ads, Walmart Connect, and other retail and social platforms, and launch high-performing content more than 80% faster across e-commerce and marketing channels. If you're buried in manual work or struggling to keep up, this episode and It's Rapid will show you a better way. Visit itsrapid.ai to learn more.
Welcome to Beyond the Shelf with Dave Feinlieb. This show is an open exploration of the people and process behind e-commerce. Through conversations with innovators in the space, we learn the stories of these leaders and their strategies for e-commerce success. We publish new episodes every Tuesday morning, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And now, here's your host, Dave Feinlieb.
Welcome back to Beyond the Shelf. Today, we're joined by Alicja Spaulding, a marketing and AI strategist who's helping brands navigate the intersection of technology, transformation, and growth. As the founder of Status Alpha, Alicja works with companies to turn AI from a buzzword into a business advantage, offering fractional CMO leadership, marketing tech stack optimization, and hands-on AI training. With over 18 years of experience scaling brands and leading digital transformation, she's now focused on helping organizations build future-ready strategies that deliver measurable impact. In this episode, we'll explore how AI is reshaping marketing leadership, what it takes to operationalize innovation, and how to build a culture that embraces change. Plus, we'll dig into the real-world use cases that are driving results from Gen AI to MarTech to creative automation. Alicja, welcome to the show.
Thank you. This is so exciting. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, you have a pretty cool background, and I'm not talking about your AI and analytics background. I'm talking about your music background. Will you start us off with that?
Yeah. So I have a very eclectic career in the sense that I didn't stay in one industry, but I've fortunately been in marketing majority of my career. And I kicked it off in the music industry, working for Universal Music Canada in Toronto in this small little marketing department called New Media. New Media mainly because the internet was still very new. We were all just figuring out what to do with it, what this meant for marketing. And so naturally, they figured that the young kid out of college, why not? They used the internet in college, right? So they can come up with some pretty groovy and cool integrated marketing campaigns. And the funny thing is, I never wanted to be a marketer. I don't think if it wasn't for Universal, I don't know if I'd end up being in marketing, because I concentrated in international business and I always thought import, export, that is so fun. I want to be in that world doing international business. But being just a teenager, I always gravitated towards music. I was in concert band, played the flute, and even kind of did my own little side hustle where I was managing bands and came up with my own little music series where I worked with a business owner where they were really slow on Tuesdays. I'm like, hey, if you're slow, would you be willing to work with this kid here? And maybe I could bring bands and singers and performers in on this slow day. And he's like, you know what? It's worth a shot. And we went ahead and he made it benefited by selling drinks and refreshments and so forth. I was able to sell CDs, and that kind of just landed me in the direction of eventually working with Universal Music where it was being disrupted. And so I think cutting my teeth in marketing in the music industry is really where I don't want to say I have this PTSD of being disrupted, but being in the moment of everything was changing. Nothing was consistent. No one knew what this thing, the internet was. You were hearing .com busts happening all the time. You didn't know who to listen to. MySpace was coming up and you're like, who's this Tom guy and why is he my friend? Like it was
Yeah.
kind of like now in many, many ways. And so I learned a lot about what marketing was, how to leverage the internet, what an integrated marketing campaign was. And I think more than anything, I learned that it was so instrumental to understand how to blend the digital world with the physical world. And that's just built my foundation for everything moving forward since then. I probably would have stuck around in the music industry a little bit longer had I not fallen in love, but life happens. And so I packed up my little Pontiac and moved halfway across the continent to Albuquerque, New Mexico, of all places. Talk about culture shock. I kid you not. But that's kind of where I got into architecture and a real deep appreciation for professional services, design. But I miss that consumer aspect of things. It's just, professional services are great, but I love the consumer piece. And so I used my MBA to pivot. I pivoted into food, and I have not looked back. I love the food industry. And at this point, I joke around that there isn't a piece of the food industry I haven't touched. From food service equipment, I mean, ranges and microwaves to like OEM parts and how to fix a range. And it has to be specific because you retrofitted it to X, Y, and Z chain, to cake pops for Starbucks, to humanely raised meat, to, I mean, I guess restaurants in
Everything.
general. And so I just have a true affinity, passion for all things food. And I just love the food industry. And I feel very, very fortunate to have melded my passions of tech, IT, digital with marketing and food of all things. And so I'm pretty happy with where I've landed in my career at this point.
I love it. I can see it. Now, that was an incredible marketing hook. It was all going this way until I fell in love. That was, of course, all of our listeners are going to want to hear that story. We may have to circle back on that at the end and the journey out to what did you say? It was New Mexico.
It was New Mexico. Yep. Albuquerque.
So that is a great hook. Now, you've had some great roles in your career. You've started this new consulting firm, Status Alpha. Tell us about that. What are you working on and what are you focused on?
You know, it's changing every single day. But the one thing that I realize is so important, especially for marketing leadership right now, is being mindful of how to adapt, because you can't necessarily keep up with all the changes. Right now, they're happening so quickly that I'm just kind of working on allowing folks to take a breather, take a step back, and approach this from the mindset of, how do you adapt? How do you become agile and nimble at a time where we really don't know where the future is going and how AI will disrupt and or be the disruptor of things in the future? And so that's really what I've been working on one-on-one with leaders, and really understanding what skill set is necessary to be agile and nimble. And it's also not necessarily helpful when you're the only leader within your leadership team that has that mindset. That also can create conflict.
So you go in, you meet with one of these folks, and you say, "Hey, I know you're in a world of uncertainty. AI has got a lot of promise, but it's also very disruptive." How do they react when you have that initial conversation?
I think it's almost like a sigh of relief instead of coming in and saying, hey, here's the big tech stack. You need to come in. No, it's going to be anywhere between 8 to 10 months. We need your entire team and all of your time to implement this system. And it's going to be X million dollars. Oh, and by the way, you'll definitely get an ROI in the next 48 months. Don't know exactly, but you'll get an ROI. And so coming in and saying, I don't know the answers to your problem. They're unique to you, and you actually know them better than I do. My job is almost to become like an architect and really understand what is the foundation. They know it better than I do. Now, where are truly the opportunities to leverage AI? And I don't mean AI from the automation standpoint, because there's this misunderstanding and this synonymy that AI is automation. It drives automation, but the optimal goal of AI should be to make better, smarter, faster decisions, and know that they're impacting your overall business. And
Yeah.
that doesn't happen overnight. That comes down to really understanding fundamentally the business, not just the discipline, but then understanding what the business objective is, so that marketing is the strategy that's allowing you to get to your milestones and achieve those goals.
Love it. Now, the name Status Alpha, where did that come from?
So, I was just thinking for the longest time in terms of, you have beta products, you have alpha products, you have the alpha male, and I really started getting into the Greek alphabet, oddly enough, with alpha, beta, omegas, and trying to really understand the historical folklore of them. And it all started because of tech and the beta product, just a curious mind. And I loved what it stood for beyond the stereotypical alpha male. If you take that connotation away, it means strength, it means agility. If you think about the alpha in nature, they're very proactive, they have strong instincts. And so I want to be the catalyst for fellow CMOs, marketing leaders, business leaders to really drive a foundation for being adaptable, agile, nimble to all the different forces that will come at us, this nature force, if you will, with AI, and maybe not even AI. Let's just say it's not AI. That's the buzzword and the hype right now.
Right.
But it's just having that proactive mindset and being prepared to tackle on anything, a pandemic.
Yeah. Now, you started at Universal. You mentioned you're now helping people deal with the uncertain, if you will. Tell us about some of the stops along the way. You were at a bunch of different brands and learned kind of different parts of the industry. Will you kind of tell us some of your favorite roles?
Absolutely. So I think the one that I just immediately go to, and it's probably no surprise that I just had a deep affinity for it, given my mom's background, my passion for food, is when I worked in the bakery world. So I worked for Stephen Roberts Originals. They've rebranded to SRO. Since then, they've been bought, and now it's Dessert Holdings. But they're a manufacturer of baked goods without laminated dough. So you don't get croissants or danishes from them. But what I love there is I truly was able to work with the leadership in changing the mindset of being so operation and sales driven to really being mindful of what it means to be marketing driven and understanding how the market is changing. And that is something that I've come to really philosophize about, is that, to me, if you think about what the root word of marketing is, it's market. And market is fundamentally the micro and macroeconomics. So if you get down and understand that that is what makes marketing tick, and understanding, is there a void in the market? Is there something to amplify in the market? That really drives the rest of the organization and the marketing strategy, because I don't mean to be so theoretical and then go through pricing and place. But if you think about it truly from the foundational strategic point, you're really, really driving the needle in an organization. And so it took quite a bit of time, but it started off with working with R&D. They worked so hard. And I don't mean to say that they threw spaghetti against the wall. They didn't. They were very, very, very talented. But they were, looking for what idea was going to resonate with the consumer, this beautiful menu, not necessarily looking at what the consumer insights were or the market trends. It's great that, passion fruit, mango flavor is such a amazing and delicate, but yet complex flavor. But if the consumer doesn't know what the hell it is, why are we coming up with an entire menu of these things?
This episode of Beyond the Shelf is brought to you by It's Rapid. It's Rapid is the platform Pepsi, Mondelez, Instacart, and hundreds of other leading brands and retailers use to build personalized content at scale. Whether that's images, videos, or product descriptions for their product detail pages, shoppable videos or banners for their digital ad campaigns, or sell sheets for sales enablement, brands that use It's Rapid are able to produce high-quality, on-brand content on average more than 80% faster than category competitors. To find out more, please visit itsrapid.ai.
The insight there, it sounds like, is start with the market rather than with the engineering, let's say.
Exactly. And so they realized with some cheat sheets of consumer insights and market trends that they were getting more hit rates and more positive hit rates, and that they were working smarter, not harder. And then you build champions that way. And so that champion would then collaborate with sales and say, hey, well, we should really connect with marketing first before we go down this path and create a menu that we don't even know if it aligns with the customer. Hey, marketing, what do you think? And so I built this culture of trust almost through this idea of evidence-based experimenting. And that kind of created this snowball effect. Like, what's going on between sales, marketing, and R&D? Oh, well, ops wants in. Ops wants to understand because now they can get ahead of, ordering supply and so forth. And so that ended up being just such a remarkable experience in really changing the mindset to how to go to market and be more successful, that it will always resonate with me. Baked goods are my passion. So it was really fun to put on my innovation hat and start working with R&D and coming up with flavors and different ideas. And essentially the R&D team did come up with the cake pop for what is at Starbucks today.
Now, kind of back to the present, you're focused on AI-enabled marketing strategy. First off, tell us what that means.
So it doesn't mean that AI is your strategy. It means that you're using it foundationally. And from my perspective, it isn't just, I have an awesome project management tool that has automated my workflow, my procedures. It is truly foundational to how to do marketing of the future. And the reason I start with the idea of strategic marketing is it's great for content. We all know that generative AI has absolutely helped us explode in getting more content, trying to be more creative. But to me, it's even deeper than that. And so when I say foundationally, it's understanding, do you have an opportunity in the future to use all the data you have, especially if you're in a product innovation role, to create your own proprietary large language model? So if you do, and you potentially can develop a proprietary large language model, what are the steps of doing that? Because it's not just the light switch, because now that can really drive generative ideas for you based on your data. From a product innovation standpoint, you know what works, what doesn't, what supplies you have on hand more regularly, how the consumer's insights are changing. And so when I think about AI enabled, it's through the entire process. Again, not just focusing on automation, but really helping your business be smarter, more nimble, faster, and all the things that really align on an enterprise level.
And tell us about some of the clients that you're working with. Who are they, and what are some of the use cases, if you will?
So small to medium-sized enterprises, anything from a startup in terms of how do I get to this milestone in my business with these resources? to medium-sized businesses who are vertically integrated. They have their own operations, their own manufacturing plant, and want to understand how to get rid of the walls, break down the silos, work more nimble, and be a marketing-driven organization, knowing that that is going to be the strategic arm of the business. And so I work with them based on how we'll work with them. I mean, I don't mean to be so obvious, but my style it's like a chameleon. I try to be very empathetic to the individuals I work with and really understand their pain points, and understand, what keeps them up at night, what would be the ultimate goal for them to achieve. And we become BFFs from that standpoint. And they don't really realize that all I'm really doing is providing them with a foundation as to how they can execute on it. Because my goal is to work myself out of a job. I don't want to be there forever. I want to really bring the tools and, more than anything, the skill set to think about the process as to how to be nimble and agile so that they can continue to evolve, not necessarily with me always there. I know it's a great job done when, after a while, it's only just a audit every so often to make sure that they're doing that everything is moving smoothly. My job, my goal is to work myself out of a job each and every time.
This is great. Now, you mentioned that when it comes to data, clients might be building their own large language models. Say I'm running a mid-sized enterprise. Is that something I should be focused on? Should I be using existing models? How should I be thinking about my investment there?
If you haven't had a conversation around LLMs, don't just wake up one day and say, hey, I need one. It comes to a point where you're already working with the data, and it comes, how can I work better with the data? How can I work smarter? That to you is your cue to realize that, oh, okay, well, maybe I need to start thinking about how to build a model from this so I can leverage it and so it can train itself on the information that it has to be smarter. It doesn't just happen, oh, well, we don't have any data. Maybe we should have an LLM and get ourselves some machine learning. Unfortunately, none of this is a snap of the fingers and it happens overnight. It all starts with a really important heart-to-heart conversation with leadership, with yourself, with your team, to understand where you can start, where it's easy for you and natural.
Now, your clients, you've come in, you've helped them think about change. They probably ask you, what's next in AI? Where should I be applying it? What are some of the big themes? What do you hear from clients, and what are you focused on over the next year or two in this space?
I think a lot of people continue to be fearful of how AI will disrupt them, their careers. It's, well, what if we get over this hump? What if AI becomes AGI, like everyone's talking about? What does that mean? So there is this fear and this fear of the unknown. And, I think we were all scared of the internet and what implications that had for us. We didn't really know the implications of the print press and the steam engine either. But we evolve as a strategy, we evolve as a society, as people. And so I just kind of tell them to, don't worry about the trends. Don't worry about the trends, truly, because we as people, we can't really predict. Focus on what's happening right now. Focus on the mindset of being nimble, agile, and that's going to be the skill set you need to drive yourself into the future, to be an effective leader, to be an effective contributor, because that's something that AI can't necessarily do. It doesn't necessarily have the critical thinking right now, but getting ahead of it by just knowing that you're flexible, that's going to be your biggest competitive advantage.
I feel like we should see a book from you soon, how to be agile, agile leadership. So hopefully you'll write something, you'll speak about it. But such great insights and a way of thinking about how to embrace this uncertainty, but also the potential of it. Well, Alicja, I've got some fun questions here in our rapid rundown, your quick thoughts. First off, what is a recent AI tool or platform or program that you're excited about?
So I'm going to answer this a little bit differently. I'm not actually excited about a different platform or tool. I'm excited about how people are starting to use what's already available. And so what blew my mind is how just with basic Raspberry Pi, and if for those folks who don't know what a Raspberry Pi is, it's a very compact, small computer processor, kind of everything you need.
Not the baking item.
Nope, not the baking item. And so a Raspberry Pi with Intel's RealSense camera, which can track and identify facial features and body and so forth. Obviously, with a couple of computer connectors and so forth, and this generative AI program called Cursor, you can start playing around with prototype robotics. So the Pi and the RealSense is your robot, if you will. Cursor is driving your code, and so you can start code vibing and kind of using that from that standpoint to start playing around with robotics. And so that's what's really, really exciting to me about Gen AI and AI is the applications and how creative we as humans are going to be with it.
A book or resource that has significantly influenced your approach to marketing and technology.
I would have to say that it would just be all of my experience at Universal. It was at a time where every single day it was being disrupted, either by Napster or LimeWire or something along those lines. And so that really kind of put me on edge of being mindful and trying to be ahead of things. So it's not a book, it's not a resource, it's experience. But books that did, the two that really stick with me is Tools and Weapons by Brad Smith from Microsoft. Great book in terms of just understanding the tech landscape, foundation, and just all the things that drive the tech industry from an infrastructure standpoint. And then most recently, it would be Mustafa Saliman's book, The Coming Wave around AI. I think those have been strong indicators for me in terms of how to think about AI and how to apply it to marketing, though they do not touch on marketing.
Your favorite way to unwind after a day of strategizing and consulting?
Chatting with chat? No, I'm kidding. No AI. I love getting on my hydro, which is like a Peloton for rowing. And I just like to blow off steam for 30 minutes, get a really high cardio workout in, and then kind of recalibrate for my evening.
Awesome. If you could have a coffee chat or with any tech innovator, past or present, who would it be?
So I've been asked this before, and my answer just doesn't change with this one. It's Marie Curie, and it's people don't immediately think to her as a technologist because she's much more of a scientist. But the reason her is she is a Polish woman who immigrated to France. She's not just the first woman, but also the first person ever to receive 2 Nobel Prizes. And her spirit is just something that I would want to learn more from. I mean, talk about bold moves. She made the move of not patenting one of her processes. I believe it was the radium isolating process. She didn't patent it mainly because she wanted the insights she learned available to all to develop further technologies and better technologies. And if it wasn't thanks to her, a lot of the devices that we use today in modern day medicine we wouldn't have. So she's somebody I would love to go back in time and have a coffee with. Maybe speak Polish.
Okay, that is a great one. So if our listeners want to reach you online, what's the best way for them to do that?
Come find me on LinkedIn. Alicja Spaulding. If you're not on LinkedIn, no worries. Drop me an email. I'm at Status Alpha, so check me out on the website. I've got all of my contact information there, email, phone number. So I'm definitely not shy. Give me a holler. Would love to talk to you.
Awesome. Alicja Spaulding, Status Alpha. I think we're going to call this one Embracing Change, How to Be Agile in Today's Environment. I'm sure our producer will come up with an even better title than I just did, but so great to have you on the show today. Thanks for joining me on Beyond the Shelf.
Thank you, David. This was fantastic.
That's it for this week's episode of Beyond the Shelf. If you enjoy the show, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave us a review. It really helps us grow. And feel free to share us with your colleagues so they too can hear weekly perspectives from the brightest minds in e-commerce. You can also check us out on LinkedIn, where we post clips from each episode, share Dave's takes on breaking industry news, and much more. Beyond the Shelf is a production of It's Rapid. Our host is Dave Feinlieb, and our producers are Sean Levy-Ashvili and Jake Musiker. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Beyond the Shelf.